It's always a pleasure to have the mayor speak to us. This will be his fourth time. And of course, as we know, I'm not kidding about his poetry. I'm sure he participated in the Rotary Festival for many, many years. And he remembers poetry along the way, but he has to remember a lot more things. But just before I introduce him, I have to do two things. First of all, I have to apologize to his Commissioner of Finance, Corporate Services. Brian Mastel, please stand up. I'm humbly apologizing for calling you Richard. Where are you? Okay. And secondly, we have the Chief Commissioners come in, Maretta Hegeland. Please welcome Maretta. Now, as you would expect, municipal government has become much more complicated than it ever was. I recall having a little duty for several years, and we'd have probably an agenda package about a half an inch. Now, not only is it about 4 inches thick, but it also everyone has a computer. And you just watch the councilors, by the way, as they flip to trying to find page 67 on their computer, or 437. And so the mayor, of course, is in charge of this and has to keep control. And he does that well. So let us just find out what has happened, a quick recap of 2016, and what he and the council have in mind for 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, His Worshipfulness, Mayor Keith Ted Cluxton.
You always have something new for me. You started calling me Keith. That's good. Thank you, Dr. Sauer. I actually hoped you enjoyed some of the videos that were playing earlier as you came in. Those were done by Luke Vandrick. We did a video to the City Medicine Hat, both a summer and a winter video, to the song All Hell for a Basement by Big Sugar. As well, I hope you noticed the 3D fly-through of the new senior center. We had that up here earlier. I so enjoyed meeting the majority of you at the door here this morning. And whether or not I decide to run again, this could be the last time I have the privilege of speaking to you at this event as the mayor. I recognize all of you. And why is that? It's because I see most of you around town. I see you here at this event just about every year. I see you at charity events. I see you at your businesses. I see you at your places of work. In a simple sentence, I know most of you because you show up. You are involved. Most of you, or some of you, come here today because you care about Medicine Hat. You care about its future. Dare I say, you love Medicine Hat and want it to be the best it can be. Or you are like my mom and felt you had to come. There are some brochures on the tables, and I so encourage you and hope that you can look through them. There's just an absolute wealth of information in there, more things that I could possibly cover here today in the short time I have. I also think that you are here because you want to be informed and perhaps have a say in the future of Medicine Hat. Unlike some of the trolls that sit in their basements and spread misinformation, those people that will take 30 seconds to spread a falsehood and an uninformed opinion, but not the extra 30 seconds it takes to actually get the true facts or find out. And I know that your time is valuable, and I know that you aren't those misinformed because you have taken the time to come here, and I truly do appreciate that more than you will ever know. As well, my senior staff are here today, as you heard, some of them are introduced, and they're going to be mad at me. Sorry, but I'm just going to ask them to stand up again. Please. Anybody who works on the second floor? I see a few. There you are. Okay. Please stay standing. I'm going to show you lots of accomplishments and projects up here on a slideshow that have occurred over. I'm going to talk about the term, not just the last year. And all of these ideas or accomplishments were just ideas inside of City Council's head. But it is these people over here and all the other employees of the City of Medicine Hat that implemented those ideas. Whether or not they agreed with them, or once it became a direction of council, they dutifully carried out council directive. These are our trusted council advisors. I like to call them my brakes when I have the foot on the gas, my sober second thought. And almost every one of them, you see, even actually our new Commissioner of Energy and Utilities just started last week, are new in the last 3.5 years. We have, this council has transformed City Hall and the senior management. And we have made some major changes to this council. And I'd like to say that we have surrounded ourselves with the best people we could. And so thank you. I also love to quote former Alderman Craven. Do you think we go into the room and ask our senior staff, what is the worst possible decision we could make? Because that's the one we're going to do. I like to give the example of, I get hundreds and hundreds of nasty comments, and people just take the time. There's always just about a reason why we do what we do. Council, our senior staff gives us what we call a decision item. Choice A, choice B, choice C. Choice A is usually what their recommendation is the best. Choice B is not so good, and choice C is an absolute terrible choice. And so I do sometimes think that people think we sit in that room for 3 or 6 hours and pick the worst possible choice. But we don't. We really do try to do what's best. And I got an email this time last year on my Facebook talking about, and it starts off the email, you're the stupidest mayor, you're the worst council, you idiots, why are the Christmas lights still on the lamp standards? And don't you know it's a downturn, and it costs a lot of money in electricity, and you're wasting the taxpayers' money. And just starts off just attack, versus just maybe actually pick up the phone or ask the question. And the reason why the lights were still on this time last year, and I don't often respond to the Facebook messages, but I decided to on this one, just so that people know that I am watching. And the reason is because we were hosting the Winter Games. And the Winter Games Committee obviously asked us to keep the Christmas lights on because we were having 10,000 people visit our city. It's something as simple as that. But it just, if you take the time, rather just to find out, and I'm not saying this group, because I know this group doesn't do that, but there's so many people out there that just automatically assume we are making mistakes. And finally, I'd like to talk about my council. This is your city council. They're here today, most of them. The electorate has chose very well. This has been, without a doubt, the best, most professional city council I've had the pleasure to serve with. They are respectful of each other and can disagree at will. They have shown courage and competence in their decision-making, some difficult decisions this term that have previous councils have shied away from. I used to compare being on city council to an episode of Survivor. Try to outwit and outlast the other and to win the prize. But it isn't about individuals. It is about the team. And there are no alliances, and there is no deceit on this council. Each one of them has handled their various committees with thoughtfulness and competence for you, the citizens. Municipal government is different from the other levels of government, and some of them are here today. We live here. Our kids go to school here. We shop in your mall. We go to your grocery stores. We can't hide in Edmonton or Ottawa, and we must abide by the decisions we make because we live in this city. And I have become very uncomfortable always standing up here for the 4th time now, spouting off about our accomplishments like they were mine and mine alone, and they weren't. We are a team, and we all work together this term. And so I asked each one of them this time, this speech, to film a very short video to talk about it. And I didn't tell them what to say, and each one of them just spoke as individuals. Oops. We're not closing comments yet, are we? Sorry. We've made it 4 years without a technical difficulty. Here we go.
And just wanted to highlight some of the incredible accomplishments we've made in this, or completed in this last term. We've opened the Canalta Centre. We have opened an amazing new expansion to the Family Leisure Centre. We have finally dealt with the Senior Centre, and the shovel will go in the ground sometime this spring. And we'll be opening a new fire station, which will, rather than opening a fourth station, with 3 stations now, we'll even be able to provide increased coverage and response times, which for me is very important in terms of a safe community, as are the police service. We're soon to see some positive changes with transit and a fair entry policy that will take care of those folks who maybe don't have the privilege of being able to attend the recreation facilities like some others are. We've got amazing parks, recreation facilities, and that all falls within, and cultural opportunities, all falls within public services mandate, and I'm especially honored to be able to serve on that committee.
One of the important decisions, I think, as a group we made involved the Family Leisure Centre expansion. When we were elected, obviously the past City Council had approved the expansion process, and in that process included a additional sheet of ice. And going through the process, we identified that the additional sheet of ice was going to cost a lot of money for the city, and we had a fairly significant amount of ice already available for our citizens. And we decided to look at some other options. And I think what ended up being developed at the FLC in terms of a community-wide multiplex that has just given so many different user groups the opportunity to be a part of that facility. Looking back, I think that's something that I'm going to be proud of, to be a part of that decision.
One of the most important things that we have been able to accomplish in the last year or two is the berming in Medicine Hat. It's not one of those typical issues that most people associate with accomplishment, but for me, as a city councillor, past term and current term, I'm very proud of our commitment to protecting the citizens of Medicine Hat in the low-lying areas. And when I think about what's important, our lives and our opportunities to safeguard our homes is probably foremost on our minds. And so the berms for me are paramount, and I'm very, very proud that we were able to accomplish that.
I was very pleased with the fact that the mayor appointed me to most of the economic development committees, and during the last 3 years I think we've made quite a bit of progress there. One of the things that I noticed after only attending a few meetings of the EDA, that the city was not getting their money's worth from that particular organization, and that prompted us to look at other methods of promoting economic development in the city, and that led us to forming the Invest Medicine Hat organization. And I have to say I'm very proud to be sitting on that advisory board, and I think we've made some progress.
As a committee member, I'm most proud of my individuals that are on my municipal planning commission. We've made a lot of decisions. We've helped guide the land use bylaw over the past 3 years, and the individuals that I have on there, the individuals from our community, are great members in the community. They're important members in our community, and we've tried to make it where the planning is a lot more transparent. They have a lot of meetings with the shareholders within our community, or the stakeholders, and I think we've gone leaps and bounds. It's a living document, and I hope to keep that living document moving along.
Graham Kelly was not wrong when he said the decisions about the Viner Centre will probably be some of the most difficult that this council will make. Well, we made all of the right moves in the first place. We had a great consultation. Senior Citizens Advisory Group did amazing things. The administration came up with a great plan, and the only thing missing was the budget. And when council saw the budget, the decision was reversed, and we moved to restore the Viner Centre to its former, in fact, even its greater glory. The great aspect of this is that our administration and the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee were patient, long-suffering, and came up with a solution that I hope everyone will be able to say this was the very best of times.
When this council started, one of the things that was really important to me was to talk about the fact that 20,000 people in our community did not have a physician. And for me, that was one of the major issues facing our community. And I was so proud to be able to sit on a committee that addressed this issue. And the cool thing was that we addressed it without spending money. So we were able to create a plan where we engaged the mayor and other city councilors as well as other people on the committee. And I can tell you that today there are 4 to 5 physicians right now accepting patients. So I'm very proud that we were able to take an issue, address it, and do it in a way that was fiscally responsible.
During this term, we combined energy and utilities. We brought energy back under direct city management, under the oversight of our CAO. And we have taken the opportunity in the last year, under the leadership of Brad Mains, to refocus our natural gas and petroleum resources division, and with a new growth strategy. Medicine Hat has always been the gas city. For many people, it always will be the gas city. But we know what the prices in the oil and gas field have done. They've gone right through the basement floor. And we've had to look at how we manage our assets and develop a whole new approach to continuing this wonderful legacy which has served the people of Medicine Hat for over 100 years.
So thank you to City Council for filming those videos. And now I have a bit of a slide presentation, and I already am looking at, and I'm already way behind. So I'm going to hammer through this and then have some closing remarks so that you can get back to work. So Council set 6 strategic priorities. So we've basically, what this slideshow is going to present is our strategic priorities, and then under each heading, what we accomplished within those priorities. So our first one was economic development. I think that was everybody's pretty aware of that. I've gone over, some of you have been here many years, and you've seen all these things, so I'm going to go very quickly. But downtown revitalization, city center development, we continue with the city center development grants, and we've done a ton of utility and deep infrastructure improvements. We've been targeting new investment, South Saskatchewan River Plan. We have a business expansion rate, which we are hoping that some of the major industries take us up on. Airport, we've talked about a lot of the new facilities in Medicine Hat. I forget about, we actually expanded our airport as well, and it is great, and we've also been able to attract another air carrier, which was the goal. Now we all want WestJet, I know, but we do have now direct flights to Edmonton. City Hall approval rating at planning. Planning was often one of the things that people complained about a lot, but as you can see, the approval rating is actually quite good. We've been doing more stakeholder engagement and consultation, I think, than I've ever seen. Basically, we don't do anything until we tell you all about it. Even these, you can see how this financially fit over here. I hope you have time to take a look at some of that. Construction, I talk about the downturn, but you know what? It hasn't been that bad. Overall construction, yes, it is down, but, we are still hanging in. Ribbon cuttings. I bet you I go to at least 1 or 2 ribbon cuttings a month. There are lots of new businesses starting up. This is just a small snapshot of some of the ribbon cuttings that I've attended with the Chamber of Commerce. Some people have lost their jobs, but now they're pursuing a dream, perhaps something that they always wanted to do, and taking a risk. But there are new businesses opening in this community every day. Infrastructure and amenities was another one of our strategic priorities. You heard Councillor Dumanowski talk about the berms. I think, we like, event centers are nice to have, leisure centers are nice to have, senior centers are nice to have, but our number 1 priority is the safety of our community. That is our first priority. It's the top of the pyramid on the hierarchy. Berms have been talked about for 100 years in this community, but then allowed to lapse and lapse and lapse. This is the first council that had the courage to build them and to go ahead without the province. We took a big risk. The province told us, just wait, you'll get some money, we'll help you do it. But if you wait for the province, you'll never get it done. So we did it, and we have actually now been receiving some money back from the province. So I think this will be one of the things that we can leave behind. And I keep saying I kind of hope for a mini flood, because I really do want to stand on the berm and watch the water go by. And if they don't work, I'm moving out of town. Asset management's been infused. We've been reinvesting in the downtown. This is Maple Avenue Bridge. We have over a 30-year plan to redo basically the deep infrastructure in this community. It's about $1 billion plan. We're into year 4. We just passed a ton of borrowing debenture bylaws last night. It seems scary, but these are long-lived assets, 75, 100 years, and we are still in great financial shape. New power plant. We're building a new power plant. It's a $66 million power plant. You can see it up in the north, up by the Canalta Center. We have a whole bunch of uncertainty with the province right now with electricity rates, with going to a capacity system, capping rates, but with the elimination of coal-fired generation, this could be a huge win. And this is a 25-year asset as well. Yes, some years it may not make money, but over time, we really expect. And plus, we are a stranded city, or we are an island in the province. We have a must-run. We must run our power plant to provide you electricity. We don't have an option. And we upgraded all the transmission lines as well, from 69 to 138 kV. Dunmore Road overpass, this was a provincial thing. I remember I was standing in the field with a couple of about 4 previous ministers of infrastructure begging for this overpass. This was a funny day. We nearly killed one of these workers because that we were doing a ribbon cutting with that truck, but the ribbon didn't break, so we dragged them along. Social wellness is one of our priorities. Of course, the event center, we all know. I hope you've all been there. It's just fantastic. I'm very proud. I tour people through new citizens all the time. We have some of the SMG right here today. They have done a remarkable job running that event center during some tough times. The Family Leisure Center. The Family Leisure Center got lost, I think, in the shuffle sometimes because of all the talk about the event center. But this is honestly, if you haven't been there, this is the premier facility in Alberta. There is no other facility with this amount of amenities under one roof. Yes, there may be some other facilities in Alberta that have 2 sheets of ice, and we only have 1. But when you factor in the Methanex Bowl and all the multi-use, this really is a pride of our community, and it is open and available for everybody. And you heard Councillor McIntosh talk about it. Senior Center, of course, you heard Councillor Pearson talk about this. This is the last thing we have left to do. The shovel does go in the ground in the spring. And it was contentious and controversial and took up a lot of this council's time. But I think we did come to the right decision. It did take us 3 years, but it did take us 10 years to get the event center built. Public safety, I alluded to that earlier. We opened a new police hall. We're opening a new fire station. We are actually even going to be building another fire station starting hopefully this term. Most councils, I think, and Dr. Sauer can attest to this, if you built a fire station during your term, that was a successful term. You got a capital project done. I can't even count all the capital projects that have been initiated and completed during this term. It's in the dozens. And the fire station and police station, and Notify Me Now. If you go on your website, I'm sorry, I'd like to explain it, but I just don't have time. It is a great new system that will target you. If you give us your cell phone number, your email address, and there's a flood or a tornado, well, not a tornado, or a toxic spill, we can actually find a geographical zone and warn you, and you can get a text message instantly from the computers. It's a great thing to sign up for. We did a speed limit review we changed them all to 30 in the school zones. We've been designating a ton of historic resources. A lot of communities just mowed everything down. Calgary is an example. They're downtown. We have a great heritage resource committee that does a ton of work and is trying to preserve. And so we go around, and all these buildings are now protected. They are some of them are national historic resources. I think some of them are, and they are now protected. They can't be knocked down. They can't be changed. You can't even change a doorknob on the front without getting approval. Park improvements, we've got a new trail out to Redcliffe. We've done some Frisbee golf. We did campground improvements. We've done some water parks. Emergency response, those are the temporary berms. We still have those temporary barriers that can be deployed at any time if we're not finished the berms, or they can even go on top of our present berms. You can see we had a huge windstorm that cost the city hundreds of thousands of dollars just June of, I think it was 15. It was a big deal, but our staff got it cleaned up. You heard Calgary, they were complaining they had the same thing but with snow, and they were mired, and it took them forever, and they went to the province for help, and we just did it. We also had a rat problem. We have some of social wellness. We have the Esplanade turned 10 years old this year. Our library turned 100 this last year. The affordable housing, as everybody knows, we talk about Medicine Hat ending homelessness. It's a big deal. It's not a big deal, it seems to be in Medicine Hat, but I tell you what, I've done about 175 interviews all over the world via radio. I've talked to every CBC in the country, from Vancouver to Whitehorse to Halifax. We are known internationally as the city that ended homelessness. And I know you'll see on Facebook, some people now love to go and try to find homeless people, take a picture of them and send it to me. And the person, just because they aren't dressed very well, doesn't mean they didn't have a bed last night, just to remember that. And physician recruitment, you heard Councillor Simmons talk about that. We are leading the way in some of these things. Image and profile was another one of our strategic directions. Just promoting you heard about the economic development. You also heard we have a new DMO, Destination Marketing Organization, to promote tourism. We are so thrilled with the work that Jason is doing with his team in promoting Medicine Hat. And we are actually seeing an increase, even during the downturn, we're getting more tourists. There's more visitors at the Visitor Information Center than ever. A lot of them are Americans with the dollar exchange, but people are coming here. We had the Medicine Hat story. We actually rebranded Medicine Hat. Some of you may not know. We are the gas city. We will always be the gas city inside of this room and inside of our borders. But outside of Medicine Hat, we are not the gas city. We are the sunshine state of mind, and we're trying to promote our sunshine in its place. Nobody wants to come to the gas city. We've been telling our story. You saw the videos. Hopefully, they do have music attached to them. It's really quite an uplifting song. We had people talk about what their favorite thing about Medicine Hat is, and there's some videos on our website. We hosted the Alberta Winter Games, arguably the most successful winter games ever held in the province of Alberta. Dr. Sauer, Ron, at the back. I went to the Banff opening ceremonies, nothing. It was freezing cold, there was nothing. Our opening ceremonies, I stood on the stage at the Canalta Centre, that top picture there, and I stood and I saw 7,000 people, and kids mostly, teenagers that had come to our community to compete and participate with their parents. And they put on a fabulous show, and with rock music and dancing, and I stood there and I spoke, and I was trying to be very quick because nobody wants to hear a politician when you come to the Winter Games. And the kids all lit up their cell phones, all 7,000 of them, and the lights. And that can become addicting. I have to do this slide. I do it every year. I have to talk about the Medicine Hat Advantage. You keep hearing the Medicine Hat Advantage is gone. We raised taxes. We raised utilities. Yes, we raised your taxes. Yes, we've been raising your utilities. Our taxes and utilities are so low that even a small percentage increase works out to a very small dollar increase. You can see our comparison. We are the lowest in the province. We have been, we will be, we will continue to be. These are our 2017 rates. The rest of the province hasn't even raised theirs yet, and they will be raising. You see all the new power lines being constructed in this province? They're going to add a fixed cost to everybody's utility bill in this province, probably $25, $50 extra per month for everybody in the province except for one municipality, and that would be the city of Medicine Hat. So our advantage is even going to grow over time. So don't believe every time you read that the rates are going up. No, the rates. Your utility bill, and I challenge you, if you still live in the same house as you did in 2008, is lower now than it was in 2008. We were charging $10, $12 a gigajoule. 10 cents, 11 cents a kilowatt. It's $4 a gigajoule now, $3. It's 4 cents a kilowatt. Here's another one. Of course, I feel sorry for Grand Prairie. The mayor of Grand Prairie is a really great guy, but wow, do they got a problem. That's the combined taxes and utilities. The province has a new climate leadership plan, whether you like that or not. We've been doing it for 8 years now, 2008 HatSmart, but we didn't tax you for it. We thought that it was the right thing to do. We owned a utility company. We were making so much money. We thought it was time to start giving back to our citizens. So we created HatSmart. So we are a leader in renewable energy. We've been doing solar for 8 years. We just opened our wind farm about 3 years ago. We are the first and only and ever will be the solar thermal power plant in Canada. We converted our fleet to natural gas, compressed natural gas, our buses and our solid waste vehicles. These are things that other communities only dream of. And we're doing them, and the province is now trying to catch up. They're actually down here, they were down here asking us about HatSmart. So we know we have the carbon tax now, and we're expecting to see some provincial incentives. They could be modeled after HatSmart. It could be Alberta Smart. Fiscal management, everybody's concerned about the lack of the dividend. We have this financially fit initiative. We didn't have to do this. We could have left this to the next council, this problem. but we've decided to be proactive. I always say that, the best time to plant a tree is 10 or 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So we're going to take control of our finances. We're trying to replace the dividend, our dependence on the dividend, but not give up on the dividend. We actually have a growth strategy. We're getting into the oil business, exploration business big time, and we actually do hope to return to a dividend. But until that time comes, we're cutting costs, and we're not running deficits. We can't run deficits. And we're making some really hard decisions, like closing the arena and closing pools. I want to talk about the automatic AMI meters. Remember about 3 years ago, they were going to give you brain cancer, and you're going to have tumors growing out of your head. Everybody seems fine. No tumors, no cancer. There was so much fear-mongering about these that they were going to start on fire and burn your house down. So much fear-mongering that the province of Saskatchewan installed them and then spent millions pulling them out. And we were under a ton of pressure, this council. If somebody dies because one of those meters kills somebody, starts somebody on fire. I woke up at 2 a.m. many nights worrying about, have we made the right decision? But this council stood firm. We knew there was nothing wrong with the meters. They worked fine. And not to fall for all the internet garbage. And so we didn't pull them and saved you millions. And had the courage to continue on with the project. And of course now, you probably even forgot that you almost even have them. But I do encourage you to sign up for e-billing, because you can watch your meter, you can see if your kids have left the air conditioning on or turned the lights on, and you can phone them and yell at them. And you can also watch your utility bill and keep track. Okay, I was alluding to this. Healed Pool. When we recognized some of our lifeguards last night for long-term service. I was a lifeguard. When I was a lifeguard, if you misbehaved, you had to go work at Healed Pool, and that was the 80s. It was the Siberia of pools. And so it was in rough shape in the 80s. So every council since then staff has recommended, you gotta close Healed Pool. It's losing money, nobody's using it. Gotta close. And no council had the courage to do it. And sorry, but some of those council members that are here, this council, and I was actually the one that was getting shaky in the boots. The other 8 of them looked at me and said, it's the right thing to do. We closed Healed Pool. It was a financial decision. Yes, it was an emotional decision, but we had to make the right decision, closing the arena as well. And then, of course, we're going to be coming up with some changes to the transit system. We are trying to cut costs everywhere. We've done some unique things. You can read these. We are recognized as on a level with Calgary and Edmonton. We have now been granted by the province the right to invest in equities. Lethbridge, Red Deer, Grand Prairie aren't allowed this. We have been given special status because of our strong financial base. We still have $500 million in the bank. Contrary to what all we're talking about, there being a shortfall. There is a ton of savings, and we're allowed to invest them now. We've done LED light conversions, and there's just been so much going on. City government. We did a reorg. People may forget this. We used to have two-headed city. We had an energy division, and we had to cut costs. With the downturn, we moved everything under one CAO. Maybe it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it was a big deal. There was a lot of uncertainty for our staff. Transparent government. Voter Radar. Voter Radar revenue now comes to I know you like or you hate Voter Radar. We did make a major change. We did a Voter Radar review, and now all the revenue comes to the city of Medicine Hat. Whether its perception becomes reality or whatever, when you have the police setting up the Voter Radar and then they receive the fine revenue, there's a perception that perhaps it isn't above board. So now the revenue comes to the city of Medicine Hat, whether that is correct or not. Leadership. So some of the things we didn't accomplish this term, we had set some priorities, and so we've accomplished just about everything we set out to do, except for a few. 603 First Street was a platform of mine, and many of the council wanted to build this building when we first got elected, but we listened. We had a downturn. Oil was $100 a barrel when we were going to do this. It's not. And so I think a responsible government, your municipal government, is that when your citizens are telling you you're in the wrong direction, you're making a mistake, is you listen to them and you adjust course. And so I think we made the right choice by not. Now this doesn't mean this will never be built, but it will not be built this term. Every other city in this province charges a municipal consent and access fee. They basically tax their utilities because they use your land. This decision item came before council. We're looking for revenue, but this council, for the moment, has decided not to add a municipal consent and access fee. That's one of the reasons your utility bills are so low. However, it is a line item on your bill. You will notice it, but it's a zero. So some things we're going to move forward with just before the end of this term. We're going to the senior center. We're going to do a speed limit review. I actually like to say to the staff, once we get that Parkview Drive up to 70 kilometers an hour, my work here is done. For those of you that drive that road, yeah. We're going to finish, we just passed last night. I was almost going to have to take this one bullet out because we almost didn't pass curbside recycling, but we did pass it last night 4-3 vote. We're going to continue with flood mitigation. South Railway is going to be upgraded, and we have a sports and events council starting, which is going to bring more things like the Winter Games, more events coming with some of the reserve funds, or I guess you call it heritage, legacy funds from our Winter Games made a profit. And looking forward, we're going to have hometown hockey here in March. We are going to be hosting the Special Olympics, Councillor Varga, and we are also hosting the Little League Championship. The winner of this goes on to the World Little League. And as Director of Communications, we finished third in 15, second in 16, so we're going to finish first in 17. So for some closing comments, I know many of you have seen these slide presentations before, so that's why I've moved so quickly. And then dare I say, what we have accomplished has been unprecedented in the history of Medicine Hat. And I struggle with this speech today, more so than I have with most, but because trying to keep it fresh, trying to keep it new. And I do see some great strengths in our city. We are a very resilient community. We have been through commodity downturns and survived. And natural gas has been in the tank since 2008. And we are still here. Our major industries burn gas, and they still do, and hopefully will for the foreseeable future. And it is what has made this city. And we've actually seen massive greenhouse expansion. Greenhouses, that's something you might not think of as a major industry, but we're seeing that because of the low price of gas. And you're going to see even more of them. And we're seeing new business startups. And those businesses that survive will emerge stronger and better able to excel and grow. And the city of Medicine Hat, the municipality, expects to emerge much stronger. And we have a Heritage Trust Fund. So all the talk about us, we have a trust fund in the city of Medicine Hat. Up until last year, our newest hotel was 10 years old, and it was the Holiday Inn. We've opened up a new one in March. There's another one in construction, and we could be opening up even more. Our commercial land is selling. Walmart is finally going to be rejuvenated since 2007. Things are happening. We have a KEG. We don't even qualify for a KEG. You have to have 100,000 population. We have Save on Foods. And our real estate market in general is holding fairly well. I do see some fantastic opportunity in the oil exploration business for the city. And while some of our competitors are exiting, we are taking a counter-cyclical approach, and I have complete faith it will work. We've been able to take advantage of this downturn and hire some of the best people in the world. In some of my past speeches, I have been very critical of our present provincial government and speaking with anger and frustration at the direction this province is headed in right now. And this province that I am so proud of, which was once the economic driver of Canada, has, in my opinion, been forced to suffer under some crippling economic policy, and now we are in debt. But I am reminded of Hanlon's razor. Never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence. Perhaps, I'm sorry, but perhaps that's all it is. So while you may not agree with the carbon tax and provincial renewable energy initiatives, these are the new norm for today. These are the new rules, and we can capitalize on them or watch others benefit. We actually should see some spin-off, as we have a great solar and wind resource, and I've lost track of the companies that are knocking on our door to invest in renewable energy in Medicine Hat. And Invest Medicine Hat can attest to this. The city has cut costs everywhere, and we continue to do so. We've cut almost $8 million out of our operations. We can't and we won't run deficits. And make no mistake, there are threats. Changing environment, changing government, changing policy, pipelines, environment regulations, and changing taxes. So it begs the question, where to from here? After these last few projects are completed, I would say as a community, we want for nothing. Yes, there are utopian ideals of no crime, no domestic violence, no hunger or poverty, that are still worthy goals. But compared to any other municipality in this present day, we want for nothing. I recently toured the mayor of Lethbridge through Medicine Hat. I took him to the event center, I took him to the leisure center, the Esplanade, and Medelta. I couldn't get him out of the Medelta gift shop. He was so impressed, he tweeted about how great Medicine Hat was to his own citizens. Talk about civic rivalry. Well, I wouldn't do that about Lethbridge. They are arguably our closest sister city. They want everything that we have. Their quote for their Esplanade, which I'm going to call it their Esplanade, is $80 million. They don't have the money. I see the next council's mandate is to keep a steady, stoic, and firm hand on the ship, to rebuild the city's reserves and ride out the commodity downturn till we return to profitability, and we will. To build on the foundation that this council has set, cutting costs and repositioning the natural gas and petroleum resources for the future, and actually the entire utility on a new but profitable road, protecting our heritage for another 100 years. I really am very optimistic, even bullish, on Medicine Hat. Hello? Hello, hello? Yep. Can you hear me? I don't think you can. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. I like to say I first came out of the closet 3.5 years ago with this poetry thing, and I took it on a whim, took a chance. So now I have to do one every time. I started with the poem If. It was the first one I ever recited 3.5 years ago. And I gave it to a tribute to our former CAO, Ray Bernard. He was retiring. And he was actually the one that handed me this poem and said, go memorize this. And so if any of you know Ray, you do what he says. So it's written by Rudyard Kipling, and he also gave us our famous name, All Hell for a Basement, when he was here, and actually convinced the citizens, our forefathers, to keep the name Medicine Hat, not change it to Browntown or Gastown or something at that time. And I call this the politician's prayer. That's the first time I ever said that. It was written about a politician that Kipling admired and thought was a very, very honorable and honest politician that served his citizens or served his community without asking for anything, and was actually turned on by his own people and served time in jail, but never held it against anybody. So If, by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all around you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you and make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting and being lied about, don't deal in lies. Being hated, don't give way to hating. And do not look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream without making dreams your master, if you can think without making thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or see the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk them on the turn of pitch and toss and lose, and start again from your beginnings and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on, when there is nothing left within you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and maintain your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can take and fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Thank you. Marks. I've got a few more. I'm not done. He's not done. I've just got another. So some of you may have, I know we've got a big turnout and it always makes me nervous. Some of you are maybe not even here to hear all what I just went through. But you've come and sat through it and listened to it again anyway. Perhaps some of you here and wondering, is he running again? Even my mom doesn't know. Councillor Dumanowski keeps saying to me, would you please just decide one way or the other? So I don't have to have people asking me all the time. And I have been trying to find the words to describe the conundrum the thought process, the pro and con list. And I couldn't come up with the words, but they came to me in an email from the mayor of St. Albert, actually, a man I actually look up to for his intelligence, honesty, and statesmanship. And in his words, these are his words, "The greatest use of life is to leave a legacy that outlasts us as individuals. While I have helped that as a father, a business person, and as a coach, I'm also very proud to have teamed up with several councils who have helped the community do that for and with our community. Now, unless one has served as mayor, one never really understands the specific and unique challenges that a mayor has or faces. It is intimate knowledge and experience reserved for few. The tremendous emotional, physical, mental, and family demands are far different than that of a councillor, remarkably different than what staff or the broad community will ever understand it to be. As mayor, you can actually, and even must, grow in kindness, because that same kindness is regularly tested. But the unique challenges at the same time are also the same pleasures that come with servant leadership. I have served my duty as leader, and I have not served as a performer playing to a gallery. I have worked to give correction without resentment when needed, and I have also worked to see the sameness in beggar and in queen, in child and in king. I have stuck to my values even while being tested, since as we know, if you don't, they are not values, they are just hobbies. And it has been said that one should leave the stage or the ring while the crowd is still clapping. And while I am not certain if indeed the crowd is still clapping, there is something to be said about choosing your time. And when I started this, when I started in politics, my boys were 7 and 5, riding bicycles, and now one of them drives. I have made some personal mistakes, and you can just ask the haters because they'll be sure to remind you. But professionally, I think we have done very well as a council, and I think we have served you well. So, barring any unforeseen circumstances, I will seek re-election this year. Thank you.